Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, good morning. Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Yod Amud Aleph 10a1. We were just mentioning as follows. We said that Metzia Hakol Ani Metzla. What does that mean? We come and we try to say that everyone could try to get a Metzia. Metzia is something that you find. Everybody is considered an ani with regard to a Metzia. Because a Metzia is something that you find, so everyone could find it. Even a rich person could find something. So therefore, what's the problem? Tananan, we learned also in a Mishnah, if you're riding on an animal, right, and you saw the Metzia and you tell your friend, give it to me. He picked it up and he says, I'm zochen it myself. So it's his. Now, says the Gemara, I understand that the entire machloket between, right, the Chachamim and Rabbi Eliezer was to do with the peah. You remember the case of the peah, where he comes and he says, can he come and take it for himself or not? And then we said, can he do it, since he could do it for himself, he could do it for somebody else, but that's only if he's an ani. So then we said, no, but maybe there's a migu that he can make himself a poor person and being mafkid all his properties and then making himself a poor person and then doing it as well. So therefore it's like, but then we said, no, we don't hold of two migus and we don't hold of this and that. Okay, fine. So, says the Gemara, matzniti mani. So who is our Mishnah then? Rabbanani, Shitat Hachamim. So what does that mean exactly? Ella iya marta. But then if he's going to say, right, that we're talking about an ashir and an ani, and that is going to be the machloke between Rabbi Eliezer and Hachamim. Aval me'ani le'ani, but from one poor person to another poor person, according to everybody, zachalo. Zachalo means that he's going to be zoche. So he comes and he said, which means that it's one migu. Okay, which is basically going to be from one per person to another person. What's the one migu? Migu de zachia lenafshe zachia lechavre. Migu that he could be zoche for himself, he could be zoche for his friend. That's one migu. So he says hamani. So therefore, who's our Mishnah then? He says why? Lo Rabbanan velo Rabbi Eliezer. It's not Rabbanan, it's not Rabbi Eliezer, right? Because our Mishnah says a person cannot be zoche for his friend, right? Even though he could be zoche to himself. So it's not Rabbanan and it's not Rabbi Eliezer. It's nobody. So who is it? So Elmaleh, so comes Ula and he tells Rav Nachman, Matznitin de Amar Techila. You're right, our Mishnah is talking about where the person picked it up and he said it at the time of the Hagba'ah. Okay, which means during the time of the Hagba'ah, that's when he said, I'm doing it for myself. Right, which means the Kavanah of the Mishnah was not that he's doing it, right, and he's doing it for the Rochev. He says, no, still he is going to be Zochet himself as long as he didn't give it. Okay, that means from the beginning he's already coming, and it's like a warning, right? When the guy comes, remember the guy's riding on the horse, right, or on the donkey, whatever it is, right? And he comes and he finds a mitzvah. So he tells his friend, do me a favor, can you give this to me? Right? The guy comes, he picks it. Now he has to say from the beginning, I'm doing it for myself. It's not for you. I'm doing it for myself. Okay, so since he's saying it from the beginning, so therefore that's why it's going to be okay that it's for himself. But if he already picked it up, that's it. He's already zochet to his friend. Because the second that he picks it up, and he doesn't say from the beginning that it's going to be for himself, he just automatically was zochet to his friend because Kilu, he was his friend's shliach that he went and he did.
Why is that a problem?
It's not a problem. We're just... So, hachenami mistabra, so he says now it's also logical to say such a thing. The Tani Seifa, but we learned in the Seifa of the Mishnah, imi shenatna lo amar, which means if he already gave it to him and now he says, ani zachiti batchila, he didn't say anything. Because imagine right now, right, Richard wasn't quick enough. I told him, can you give this to me? He gives it to me. I say, thank you. Wow, this is such an incredible thing. He wasn't quick enough. Also he says, when I picked it up, it was for me.
Too late.
What does that help now? You understand? So he says, Lo amar klum, he didn't say anything. So he says, right, Techila b'seifa lamli. So why do I need the word then, Techila, from the beginning? But it's only in the latter part of the Mishnah, not the former part of the Mishnah. So he says, Pshita, she'af al-gav de lo amar Techila, that even if you didn't say Techila, Techila kaman, it means that was a kavanah, that you said Techila. So that's why it's coming to teach you, Reisha de amar Techila. So the Reisha was talking about Anizah v'chit Techila from the time of the Akba'ah, which means that the word Techila in the Seifa is teaching you that the Seifa and the Reisha, right, is that you did that. Meaning it had to be in both cases that from the beginning, you said I'm doing it for myself.
Before picking it up.
Right, exactly. Well, that means when you're picking it up, you're already saying, oh, by the way, I'm picking it up for myself. Because if you're not doing that, it's going to be a problem. Because again, you have to be zoche for yourself. Okay? So says the Gemara, the Idach, and the other one, which is Rav Nachman, Tana Seifa leguluy reisha, right? He says, really be'emet, it only said the word techila at the beginning, in the latter part of the Mishnah. One more time, what does the Mishnah say? You're riding on an animal, right? It doesn't even say which animal, right? So I was correct before, I just said it doesn't matter whether it's horse, whatever, you're riding on an animal. And you find a metzia, so you tell your friend, can you give it to me? He picked it up, and then he says, Ani zachiti ba. So he's going to be zachaba. But mishenatanalo, once he gives it back, gives it to him, and now he comes and he says, right, Ani zachiti ba tchila, that I was zoche from the beginning. He didn't say anything. So he comes and he says, why does it say only in the seifa techila at the beginning? Why doesn't it say it in the reisha? So he comes in the former part of the Mishnah also as well. So he says, V'yidach, the other Tana, which is Rav Nachman, he's going to explain Tana Seifa legoluy reisha, which means the Mishnah is teaching the Seifa to come and to teach us about the reisha. That Seifa de amar tchila, reisha de lo amar tchila. That only in the Seifa does it say that you have to say it tchila mifurash. But in the reisha, you don't have to say mifurash. Which means Rav Nachman is coming and is explaining that when it's written techila at the beginning in the Seifa, it's not coming and telling you from the Hagba'ah, right? From the time of the Hagba'ah, just like Ula said it. The kavanah is that he was zoche latzmo, right? Even if it's going to be after the Hagba'ah. Even as long as it's going to be before that he gave it, right? That is the Shita of Rav Nachman. And therefore, Ula is coming and he's asking, so 1 second, what's going on exactly? Okay? So even if you wouldn't have mentioned it or not. So Rav Nachman comes and he says, no, but the Seifa is coming and teaching you that this Gilui is only in the Seifa, which means you're revealing your mind only in the Seifa. Is talking about Aniz Tichitiba Tchila, but in the Reisha you didn't say that. But you're just saying Aniz Tichitiba Achshav, meaning like this. There's going to be two different concepts. One of them is that, right, we're going to continue using Richard, yeah? I come and I'm on the horse, right, or whatever it is. It's very difficult for me. By the time I get down, so what do? I come and I say, Richard, can you do me a favor? Can you give this to me? So he picks it up. So now there's going to be a difference. One case is that he's coming and saying at the time of picking up, this is mine, and he picks it up. Another one is, he picks it up, he looks at it, this is mine now. He didn't do it at the beginning. He did it, but if he already gave it to me, that's a Mishnah Mefureshet. If he already gave it to me, and now he says, by the way, I'm doing it for myself. No. That's already too late. Right? Why? Because he already gave it to me. And he didn't say anything about those for himself. So therefore, automatically it comes to me, it's mine. Yeah, and then that's it. Okay.
How can it come to the man on the horse? Because the
You
man
gave it to
picking
me.
it up has to intend for himself and the other guy.
No. Why? Why? What do you have to
I
tell
thought we
him?
learned a bunch that...
No. You're talking about something else. That if you want right now to come and to do it for yourself and somebody else, does that work or not work? If I right now come and I find something, I pick it up and I say, you know what? This is for Richard Moore. I could do that for sure. What's the problem? Yeah? Now, there's going to be a problem, right, to do with Metziav, it's Chav Lachrine. Okay? But, I'm going to ask you a question. You come, you pick it up, and I give it to you. Now you're doing the kinyan right now. You're not doing the kinyan through me. You're doing the, meaning the guy on the horse. I'm the guy on the horse. I'm the one that's doing the kinyan the second that he gives it to me. I don't need him to do a kinyan. The opposite, I don't want him to do a kinyan. Because if he's doing a kinyan, he wants to do it for himself.
I could just as well be a monkey giving it to you.
Exactly.
A trained monkey.
100%.
Okay.
I think a little bit more highly of you, but it's okay.
When he gives it to you. When he gives
Huh?
it to you.
Yes.
Is it already too late when it's in your hand, or do you need to do the kinyan?
No, it's already too late.
You don't need to do the kinyan to acquire it.
No. Let me repeat. You do need to do a kinyan to acquire it, but he cannot not say anymore that it's his. Because the second that it's in my hands, it's already too late for him to say what he wanted.
So it's already
So
too late
therefore,
for him to say, but it's not yet yours.
but it's not yet mine until I pick it up, yeah.
It's still Hechal.
Yeah, until I pick it up. But now he's not, that's it. It's already a done deal. He already gave it to me. And now I'm going to come and I'm going to, so it depends. I ride it with it, I picked it up, whatever the case is. Yes. Okay? So he comes and he says, right? Achinami mistabra. It's also logical. He says, sorry, we just did this. Okay? So now he comes and he says this. Rav Nachman Rav Chasta Damim Tarvayu. Rav Nachman and Rav Chasta both say, right, that Amagbia Metzia lechavero lo kana chavero. If you pick it up for your friend, he does not acquire it. So this is where Richard got confused, because he thought that he was picking it up for me, that he's doing the acquiring for me. That's incorrect. He's just like what he said. He's just the messenger boy, just giving it to me. He's not acquiring it for me. Why? Because if he wanted to acquire for me, he cannot do that. Even if he says it. Because remember, since it's chav lachrine, unless he's also going to acquire it for himself or something like that,
What does chalakadine mean?
it's bad for someone else.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? So he comes and he says, Bava Metzia Daf lo kana chavero. My time, what's the reasoning? Havi tofes lebal chov שבמקום שכב לאחרים. והתופס לבעל חוב, right, במקום שכב לאחרים, לא קנה. Imagine right now you have an Adam Zar, a stranger, and he's going to grab from the property of the Loveh for the Malveh, right, in a place where it's going to be Chav La'acherim. So you remember we mentioned, I think it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago, right? It was, what the Chav? Oh, 1 second, yes. But 1 second. We're talking about, I remember it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. You remember I told you that, for example, if you owe me $100, right? I'm allowed to, again, not lechatchila, but if I go to your properties and I took the $100, again, don't get into the nitty-bitties if it's worth 99, 101. Let's say it was the same $100, right? It doesn't have to be the same dollar bill, but meaning the same thing that we know. $100 is $100. So then it's mine, okay? But what happens right now if somebody else does that for me? Which means they know that you owe me $100, so they go and they take it. So now he wants to be zocheh for me. It's not me that's doing it, because if it's me that's doing it, this is mine. I could do it. But again, not lechatchila, but if I did it, right, there's no problem. It becomes mine. But what happens right now if, for example, right, Michel is going to go and he's going to take it from you, but he's doing it for me. So now the problem is that John Doe, right, didn't only owe me. He also owed Ronen and he owed Jean Paul. So now, by owing all three of us, when Michel comes and he's going to grab it because he knows me and he wants to, do me a favor, but it's chav la'achrine, because now they are going to lose out. Because beforehand, right, but that means since he owes to all three of us, right, so therefore even there could be two, it could even be one person. Basically the concept is that it's going to be negative for somebody else. So that's what it says here. He's not going to acquire it. Right? Why? Because since he's making somebody else lose, right? So therefore it doesn't happen. Okay? So that's what it says here in the footnote. In the footnote it says, Bal chov rashai litfos la'atzmo minichsei aloveh lepiron chovo. A bal chov is allowed to go to his friend's property and to take something for his debt. He's allowed to do that. Yeah? Ve'af adam zar yachol litfos. Even somebody else could do that. Why? Well, it's a merit for the guy. But he says when there's going to be other people, right? It doesn't help. Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be chav la'acherim. So now asks the Gemara, Eitvei Rava leRav Nachman. Asks Rava to Rav Nachman, Metziat poel le'atzmo. Imagine right now you have a worker, and he finds something. But when he finds it, he's working for you. He's working for you. Yeah? It belongs to him, not to you. But medvarim, one of these words, is man shamar lo balabait. When the balabait comes and he says, Nakeshi mi hayom, or adari mi hayom, work for me today. Aval ima marlo, but if he comes and he tells them, asei mi melacha hayom, which means he didn't tell him which melacha. The case was, he comes and he says, prune, or I don't know how you say it in English, these words exactly. Weed, dig, all the... Meaning he's giving him meaning, what are you doing for me? You're painting. Exactly, a specific job. A specific job description. But if he just told him, do for me work today, meaning you're working for me, right, today, then mitziuto shel balabait. Then it belongs to the balabait. Why? Because since he didn't explain which melacha, so finding the lost object and picking up is also a work. So if it's melecha balabait, and therefore it belongs to the balabait. Okay, one second. I'm going to get to the Mishnah, and then we're going to ask questions. So Elmaleh, so he comes and he says, right, Shani poel tiyado kiyad balabaitu. He says, one second. What are you comparing any other case? The poel is an extension of the hand of the balabait. And that's why the balabait is going to be zocheh, but not anybody else. Meaning like this. When I went and I saw Richard on the street, is Richard my worker? Richard is some guy in the street. I cannot compare Richard to my worker. My worker is the extension of my hand. So when he picks it up, it obviously depends on the terms of our work agreement, right? But so he's the extension of my hand. So therefore it belongs to me. But in this case, since when is his hand my hand? That doesn't exist. So says the Gemara, well, what are you talking about? Rav says, do you know that a poel has certain rights? And the right of a poel is he could retract in the middle of the day. Meaning, imagine right now at 8 o'clock in the morning, he's working for me. All of a sudden comes 12 o'clock and he says, you know what, I apologize, I can't work for you anymore. Whoops, so it picks up and goes. Afilu be'emsa yom. Mamash, in the middle of the day. We're not talking about that he didn't even start. We're talking about that he already started. But in the middle of the day, he could stop working for you. So therefore, if right now, right?
If there's no start.
Yes. So he comes and he says, right, nobody does a start to work, right? Right, nowadays you make employment agreements, but that's always because it's usually for a year, right? You're going to take a cleaning lady, you're going to make for a start for one day.
I mean, even if there is a star, you can still walk off the job because you can't be a makeup person a slave.
It's not a neven. You understand? But the concept is there. Okay. So the thing is though that if right now he could retract in the middle of the day, so therefore, you know what's going on over here. You understand? Like at the end of the day, his hand is not your hand. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh, he comes and he says, Kol kama delo hadarbe, as long as he doesn't retract, ki yad balabaitu, it is like the hand of the balabait. Ki hadarbe, right? When he's chozerbo, tamach rinahu, it's a different reason. Tichtiv ki libnei Yisrael avadim avdaihem velo avadim avadim, which means like this: I cannot hold anybody like a prisoner. Nobody's a prisoner. So therefore, even though I come and I tell you you're working for me, I cannot force you to work for me for the rest of the day, right? You're not my Eved. So therefore, the reason why you're allowed to retract, right, is because you're not my Eved. So therefore, if you're not my Eved, you could retract in the middle of the day. So as long as you don't retract, you are the extension of my hand. But once you retract, it's not that you're not my extension. It's just that you have a way to get out of it, which is that basically you're not my slave. So therefore, you could come and you could get out of it. So Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba Amar Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yochanan Hamagbia Metzia lechavro kana chavero. Right? So he says if you're going to pick up a Metzia for your friend, the friend does require it. So says the Gemara, V'im tomar mishnatenu. One second, but we have the Mishnah that our Mishnah says no. So what does that mean? What does that mean if you're going to be Magbia Metzia chavero kana chavero? So he comes and he says De Amar teneali velo amar zecheli. Meaning, he wants to actually come and he wants to answer that our Mishnah, the reason why he doesn't require it is because he told him, give it to me. 2 days from that. He told him, give it to me. But if he told him, zecheli, meaning you're going to merit for me when you pick it up, it comes out, and that's what he's saying here, that the only shlichut was to pick it up. And therefore, he comes and he says, right, he could actually be chozerbo as long as he doesn't come. And he, so right?
The whole 2 days is voided.
It's not. No. He says like this. Again, a summary. According to Shitat Ula, okay. So this is Ula. You're going to have 3 different shitot here. Ula, right? According to Rav Nachman and Rav Chasta, and according to Rabbi Yochanan. So 3 different shitot. According to Shitat Ula, whether it's Chachamim or Rabbi Eliezer, the Mishnah Peah holds that if you're going to be tofes lebalchov bimkom shechav la'achirim, which means you're grabbing for somebody, in a case where it's going to be negative for somebody else, you're not going to acquire it. Correct? Okay. Now, the machloket is going to be from zechiyah, from an ashir, right, to anani. Okay, do we say 2 migus or don't we say 2 migus? Remember, the 2 migus was, first migu, I could make myself a poor person by basically making everything hefker. And by making everything hefker, I become poor. So that's what migu, right? That he could come and he could be mafkir kol nechasav, and then he becomes zanani. Second migu, okay, now that he's zanani, migu that he could acquire to himself, he could acquire to his friend. Migu to zachar, right? Zachar lechavre. But if you're going to come and you're going to be magbia metzia for your friend, you are going to come and be zoche, because according to everybody, you could be zoche for your friend bekoach 1 migu. Because there's only going to be 1 migu here. So metzia is only 1 migu. Why? I'm going to pick it up. I could have picked it up for myself. So the fact that I'm picking up for you, so it also works. That is the shita of Ula. Okay? So that's the shita of Ula. So one more time. If you're going to pick it up, Chav la'achirim, doesn't work. If it's, what is the machloket over there? If it's going to be from an ashir to an ani, do you say 2 migus or 1 migu? Machloket chachamim Rabbi Eliezer. Let's say I'm only going to pick up a metzia. There's only 1 migu. So then lechuli almeh works. That is the shita of Ula. Second shita, Rav Nachman Rav Chasta. According to shita of Rav Nachman Rav Chasta, Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim are arguing, can you grab for somebody else במקום שכב לאחרים? Right? What does that mean? Either a metzia, I found something, or a chov. I went, you owe somebody else money, I went, I grabbed the money. So again, according to them, the halakha is like chachamim, and therefore, you do not acquire. Why? It's chav la'achirim. Which means, in this case of the metzia, according to Shitat Ula, there was only one migu. So I could pick it up for my friend. So I pick it up for Michel. I'm allowed to do that. Why? And he's zocheh. The reason why, I'm coming and I'm going to pick it up for him. No problem. According to Rav Nachman and Rav Chasta, it doesn't work. Why? When I pick it up, he's losing out. He's losing out. He's losing out. Everyone's losing out. So it doesn't work. Okay. Third shita, Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, if you're going to pick up a mitzvah for your friend, kana chavero because of amigu. Why? Because he could be zocheh right latzmo if he wanted to, or mishum zechia b'mitzvah is not considered, I have said, to other people. So shitat Rabbi Yochanan is you do acquire it. We said it's chav la'achirim. You remember we said it's bad for other people. So either there's the shita of the Ramban that he holds that it's not a chav la'achirim, right? Because that means it's not a debt for other people. Because a debt means that they're losing something out, not that they didn't gain. Here it's that okay, they can't gain because they didn't find it, but it's not that they're losing out, right? Or because he just holds that because of the migu they could be zocheh, right? Since he could be zocheh to himself, so he could be zocheh to his friend. That is the Mishnah on the bottom of Yod, in the middle of Yod Amud Aleph, 10a. ראה את המציאה ונפל עליה ובא אחר והחזיק בה. זה שהחזיק בה זכה בה. Right? You remember we already spoke about this, David, yesterday. What happens right now if I see a mitzvah, but I see it, so it's like, they're playing the football. So right away I run and I jump on top of it.
Put his foot on it.
Right? Or he put his foot on it, or jumped upon it, whatever it is. Right? ונפל עליה. So he says, and then somebody else comes and he picked it up. Yeah? So who's the one that's zocheh? The one that picked it up is the one that fell on it. That's not called a kinyan. Yeah, that's not called a kinyan.
It's a famous Mishnah. Because you
exactly.
You put your foot on it, you think it's yours.
Exactly.
No.
It's not true. Yeah, you have to actually pick it up. So Amar Shakish Mishum Abba Kohen Bardela says that Shakish the name Abba Kohen Bardela Arba Amot Shel Adam Konot Lo Bechol Makom. Do you know that every single person has 4 amot that nobody can actually come and acquire, right? So my tama takinu rabanan delo atil insuye. What's the reasoning? Because the rabbis did not want that there should be a fight on cheftzeh hefker, and therefore, if it wasn't for this type of a takana, right, everybody would come, they would run to it, they would start fighting. So therefore, the one that finds it within his arba amot, right, it's kilu. That's it. He already knows that his friend acquired it, so that's it. You can't do anything about it. So imagine I'm within my 4 amot, it's mine.
So what
Yeah.
if we're sharing 2 amot?
1 second. Says the Gemara. 1 second. Says the Gemara. Amar Abaye comes and he says, Motiv Rechia Bar Yosef, Asr Rechia Bar Yosef, Peah, from the Misham Peah. Amar Rava comes and he says, he asked Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi from the Zikin. Right? What does that mean? Let's explain. So Amar Abaye comes and he says, Motiv Rechia Bar Yosef from Peah, Im Natal Miktzat Peah. Vezarak alashar. Imagine right now I come and I take, right, there's an ani, and he's taking part of the peah, right? Vezarak alashar, and now he thought that he's going to acquire the rest, so he comes and he throws on the rest, and he doesn't get anything. There's nothing there, right? So he's not only does not acquire the rest.
What is he
right?
doing with the peah?
He's basically throwing it.
Where?
Zrika. He's throwing on the rest, right?
What rest?
So one more time. So he says, Vezarak alashar. So he thought he's going to acquire everything else, and lo baklum, he doesn't get anything. Nafalu aleh. He even falls upon it, or he puts his talit on it. Imagine, I come and I see this, I take off my jacket and I put it on top, right? Also the same thing. Yeah. So he says, Mavinin tuamenu. You just take it off. So imagine somebody put their jacket here. I'm going to take it off and I'm going to take it. Why? You didn't do anything. You put a jacket on top. Chazak baruch. You take it. Yeah. You see, they didn't make a kinyan on the kiseh. You see, they didn't make a kinyan on the kiseh.
Nobody paid.
Yeah. So he says, "Ma'avidin oto emenu, ve'chen be'omer shikha." Yeah. Ve'chen be'omer shikha. The same halacha would apply by omer shikha. V'hi amarta. Now, if you're going to tell me, 400 של אדם קונה בכל מקום, נקנו ל-400 דירה. One second. What did we just say? We just said that this guy comes and he tried many different ways. He fell upon it. He put his jacket upon it. Now, 1 second. Why are you telling me now just take it off and take it? He's got 400. If it's within his 400, everything's his. Gamarnu. That's it. He doesn't have to do anything else. So answers the Gemara. What are we dealing with? Delo amar ekneh. He didn't say I'm going to get it. I'm going to acquire it with these 400. So says the Gemara, V'takinu Rabbanan. If the Rabbanan came and they did it, so even if he didn't say, what do I care? Meaning, if you're going to tell me that the Rabbanan came and they made this enactment, right? That basically this takana was that your daled amot always are koneh. So even if you didn't say it, what's the matter? So answers the Gemara, Kevan de nafal. Once he fell upon it, he wanted it to get it with the nefilah and not with arbamot. Right? So one more time. Yeah? What happens? We have different triggers in halakha. Okay? Different triggers. Right? You're listening? Right? To be a trigger. Right? Yeah? So, what happens is that I want to trigger the daled amot kinyan. So therefore, to show you what it is that automatically my daled amot are konot. When I come and I put my jacket upon something, what am I showing? I'm showing that this is the way that I want to do my kinyan. You're not using the trigger of the daled amot. You're using the trigger of your jacket. Now it's your taflak. Why? Because the jacket doesn't acquire. And since the jacket does not acquire, so therefore it doesn't work as a trigger. That's what we're talking about. Also the same thing. Yeah? So Yodamu bet, 10b. So Rav Papa comes and he says, another answer. Ki takinu le Rabbanan 400. When do the Rabbanan obligate? When do they give you 400? Be'alma, in other places. Besadeh balabait, not takinu Rabbanan. Meaning, you're right now in my field. You're taking my peah. You're the per person in my field. The rabbis gave you a daled amot. Yeah? No, that's what we're saying, but it doesn't matter. But this is my field. Right? Ve'af al gav dezachal rachmana begava. So even though the Torah gave it to him, ki zachal rachmana laliche be'v'linkut peah. When you have permission to come into my field in order to take the peah, you only have the permission to come and take the peah. Right? It's not that it's your chatzer now. It's not your chatzer. Right? You understand? It's not your chatzer. Right? So if okay, you have permission to come into my field, you come, you take the peah, and you leave.
That's it.
But that's it. You don't get any other zechuyot. Right? Imagine a person comes and says, no, this is a peah, I'm going to put my, how do you call that, the chair, pick up my legs, have a beer, right? No! You have the rights to come into my field. You take the peah and out. Yeah? That's it. Nothing more than that. Fine. Next. Amar Rava comes and he says, Motiv Rabbi Yaakov Bar Yaakov Bar Yidi comes and he asks from Nizikim, Ra'et Metzia v'nafal lo alea. You find the Metzia, you jumped upon it. Right? And then what happens? Somebody else comes and he picked it up. So it's his. Now if you're going to tell me Abba Meot Shel Adam Konem B'chol Makom, so why doesn't he get it with Abba Meot? So Chameskina Delo Ma'ikneh, says the Gemara, you didn't say that I'm going to acquire it. So ask the Gemara, but if the rabbi is already instituted Abba Meot, you don't have to say that you're going to acquire it. And so the Gemara, the same answer that we just mentioned before. Once you went and you fell upon it, you were megaled that that's what you wanted to acquire. Meaning you're triggering the acquisition of nefilah. And nefilah is not a form of acquisition. And therefore you don't get the arbamot. You understand? Meaning that the second that you're showing that this is what I want to do, we take you out of the daled amot. Beforehand, you would have been in the arbamot. And you would have actually acquired it. But the fact that now you're coming out of the arbamot concept, so that's it. Now you don't get it. Because you show that you don't want the arbamot. You're showing that you're using another form of acquisition. Okay? So, no. So therefore it's not yours. Yeah, and the other guy comes and he takes it. Yeah? Exactly. You have to pick it up. Yeah? Don't fall upon it. Yeah? Rav Sheshat Omar. Rav Sheshat comes and he says, right? Another right answer. Ki takinu Rabbanan besimta. When do the rabbis come and institute that you have daled amot? Only in a simta, the lo dachke rabim, that you don't have a lot of people over there. And therefore, since you don't have a lot of people over there, that's when you get it. Aval bishut rabim v'dekadachke rabim lo takin rabbanam. But you don't have daled amot in the reshut rabim. Meaning that what here we're trying to say here is you only have daled amot only where? Only in a
recessed area.
Yes, only in a small area that not you have hundreds of people running.
Not necessarily small,
You don't
not
get it.
busy.
Okay,
Recessed,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, not busy. Okay.
Quiet, recessed
So
area.
ask the Gemara, "Ve'a bechol makom kama." How do we start off? We said that the Rabbanan takinu bechol makom daled amot. Chol makom is mashma, everywhere, only just one place. So the Gemara answers, right? Kol makom is le'atu yetzidei reshut harabim. You're right. It's coming to include the sides of the reshut harabim, which means the sides of the reshut harabim are going to be considered, right? That what? That since people don't go there, so therefore he's also allowed to acquire it with the daled amot, but not reshut harabim itself. Okay. Fine. Ve'amar Reshakish mishum Abba Kohen Bardila. Says Reshakish and Abba Kohen Bardila, Ketana en la chatzer ven la 400. A ketana does not have chatzer and does not have 400. And Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, in the name of Rabbi Yonai, im yesh la chatzer, yesh la 400, that she does have it. Okay, and then obviously we're going to see what is the machloket right between them. So says the Gemara, b'may kam mipalgeh, what is the machloket then between them? Mor savar chatzer mishum yadait Rabbi, ki hechi deid layad. One of them, Rabbi Yochanan, comes and he says that the chatzer of a woman that she's getting divorced, she's actually adding that in from the word of yada, which means that it has to be from her hand. So the chatzer is considered her hand to do with accepting the get. Meaning you have to place the get in her hand. What is her hand? So her hand is included in her hand, is her chatzer.
Not in a public domain.
Obviously not. Right? Ki hechi di'it layad, just like that she has her hand to accept her get. So therefore, chatzer nami itla. So she has din chatzer, right, to get her divorce bill as well. So Morsava Bar Shakish says chatzer. You're not learning chatzer from yad. You're learning chatzer because of a shlichut. What does that mean exactly? Right? We come and we say that just like a shaliach could accept the get for a woman, so too the chatzer could accept the get for a woman. So now, if you cannot have a shlichut, so for example, ketana, right? There's no din of shlichut. Right? Because a katan, there's no shlichut shaliach, right? It has to be somebody that's a gadol. So he comes and he says, so because of that also, right? Chatzer nami letla, she does not have it. So the machloke between Rabbi Yochanan and Shakish is, what are the dynamics of chatzer? Is chatzer learned from the hand, or is it learned from shlichut? If you're going to say it's your hand, so just like a girl has a hand, she could have also the chatzer, because you're learning but if you're learning that it's shlichut, so therefore it does not work. Okay, so mika man de'amar chatzer mishum shlichut Rabbi. Ask the Gemara, does there exist such a concept that chatzer is because of shlichut? V'atanya, we learned in the Braita, right? Imimaseh timaseh biyado. What does it mean biyado now? Biyado means if you find the geneva in the guy's hand, in the genav's hand, eli ela biyado, that's only his hand. What if you found it on his roof, or in his chatzer, or in his karpifo, right? In all these things. What if you find it in his other property, right? So now what? He doesn't have to pay the kefel. He doesn't have to pay the double. Minay, how do we know that you still have to pay the kefel? So tamolomar himaseh timaseh bechol makom. When it says himaseh timaseh, the extra word of himaseh is coming to teach you that any place where you find the geneva, he has to pay the double. Meaning, don't tell me it's only if you found it in his hand, he has to pay double. When it was my house, same thing. If it's in my same thing. Why? So says the Gemara, if you're going to tell me that the chatzer is learned from shlichut, so that it comes out that there's going to be a shliach l'dvar avera. Why? Because your chatzer is considered like your shlichut to do with geneva, that it's keilu that he stole it himself, and he's going to be chayav midin ganav. Now we paskin and shliach l'dvar avera. Meaning we have a general rule. I come and I tell you, go kill this guy, and you go do it. And shliach l'dvar avera. Which means it's not nice what I told you to do, but at the end of the day, in shliach l'dvar avera, you did avera. That's nothing to do with me, right? And therefore, if we paskin and shliach l'dvar avera, how do we have then that the chatzer is midin shlichut, meaning your chatzer is acting, the agent which triggers the chatzer is the shlichut, and it does work, but in shliach l'dvar avera, and that's how we paskin. So answers the Gemara, Ravina says, Hecham ninan then shliach l'dvar avera. When do we say en shliach l'dvar avera? Hecha de shliach bar chiyuvahu. If the shliach is a bar chiyuvahu, aval chatzer la bar chiyuvahu, so mechayev sholcho. He wants to say like this. What is the concept of en shliach l'dvar avera? I come and I tell you, go do some avera. Yeah, go rob a bank. You have a mind, right? And you're obligated not to rob a bank. I come and I told you, do an avera. Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmid, Divrei Mishimon. Why are you listening to me? Right?
If
Right?
I pay him, go and kill that guy.
Doesn't matter. And shliach l'dvar avera. Yeah. So
Torah
what does
law.
that
It's
mean?
Torah law.
Right. By the way, this is not only Torah law. If I remember correctly, right, in secular law, the police cannot tell you to do something against the law. And if you listen to him to go against the law, it could be a problem.
Say that
Right?
again. What did you
If
just
I remember. So says the Gemara, Ela me'ata, so we're now going to ask the following question. Ha'omer li'isha ve'eved, tziru genvuli. Imagine a person comes and he tells a woman, or he tells an eved, right? He tells basically his married woman, or he tells an eved Kanani, go out to steal from me. They're not b'nei chiyuva, right? Because we already learned, Ta'isha Nesua and an eved and everything, they're going to be patur. Ha'chanami, you're going to tell me that the meshaleach is going to be chayav? So says the Gemara, Amar Ta'isha ve'b'nei chiyuva ninu, ve'hashtamia let lehu leshalume, but itznan, nidgar sha'isha nishtachrer eved chay leshalem. He says, what are you talking about? He says, do you know that what happens right now if a married woman comes and she does something? So right now that she's married, you're right, it could be that she's futura. But the second that she gets divorced, or she gets, now she's chayevet. The same thing with the child. Which means she's chayevet to pay it back. Right? Which means that right now she's exempt. But it's not an exempt, it's like a
suspended?
Yes, it's like suspended, which means that it's not that you're not chayav. You're really chayav. But since right now you have your husband and you're not going to be a chav, you're not going to be a chov to your husband, right? Because imagine a woman wants to get back with her husband. What does he do? What does she do? Boom, boom, boom. She does a whole bunch of different things, and now let the husband pay. Therefore, the Gemara says the husband doesn't have to pay anything. But the second that she gets divorced, or if widowed, now that comes the. So that's why what he used the word is correct. It's like suspended. It's not that it's exempt. It's like suspended. You put it you have to wait. Yeah, it's an exemption for a little bit of time. Okay? Rav Sama comes and he says, Hechal amrinan, when do we say en shliach levar avera? Hechal di bai avu vi bai lover. Only if you want, you could do it. If you want, you don't want to do it. Right? Aval chatzer, that it's bal korchem otivba, mechayev shlucho. You are going to be chayev. Which means, by the shliach levar avera, when we came and we wanted to enact a concept of en shliach levar avera, that's only because you have the choice whether to follow suit or not. Meaning, I come in and you want to, I don't want to be your apprentice. I don't want nothing to do with you. So then that, yes, el sheyach levar avera. But a chatzer, it's against your will. You come and you put it in your chatzer. So that's it. Gamarno, there's nothing to talk about. Okay? My benai, what's the difference between them? It says, Ika benai, the difference between them is, a kohen that tells Israel, Seve kadesh li isha grusha. Go get married for me an isha grusha. Inami, or an ish, ta'amal al isha, a man that comes and he tells a woman, akfili katan. Right? Do for me the hakafat harosh, which is taking off of the peot, right, of a katan. Right? Now, the avera belongs to the mishaleach. Why? Because it's a sur for the man to do it, right? But a woman is not chayevet, okay? Because she doesn't have a hakafat harosh, so she's not chayevet. So lehach lishna, so according to the lishon that we said, that only if you want you could do it, you don't want you could do it, lo mechayev sholcho, hachanami, the same thing. So lo mechayev sholchan. So the one that's sending is not going to be chayav. So whether it's the one that's sending that he's going to try to get married the grusha to the kohen, or the one that's doing the kafat harosh of the katan, he's not going to be chayav. But according to the Lishna that said, that whenever he's not going to be a bar chiyuva, so then the sholeach is going to be the one that's going to be chayav. Haninami, so too these people also, whether it's to do with the grusha to the kohen, or the woman doing that kafat harosh to the child, so he is going to be chayav. So basically the two different lishonot, the two different languages of the Gemara is going to be two different nafkaminas, right? Whether behemet, a person that comes and he tells a guy, get married for me a grusha, and he's a kohen, that means obviously he's not allowed to do that, or a man that comes to a woman and says, go cut off the peot of this child. So again, he himself is not allowed to, he's chayav, but the woman is going to be exempt. So in those two nafkaminas, depends upon what is the lashon, meaning what's the trigger of en shliach levar avera. Is it because they have a choice to do it or not to do it? And therefore, right, here also they have a choice, so therefore you're going to be patur, right? Meaning the shulchan is going to be patur. Or do you say it's because nothing to do with whether they have a choice or not a choice, if there's an isur or not? So if there was an isur on them, right, so therefore it's his avera, not my avera. But if they don't have an isur, so then the avera goes back to me, because I'm sending them. So then it goes to me. Which one? Says what? Does there actually exist somebody that does not say that chatzer, right, is not because of yada? Which means that we're now asking against the Shakish that he said it was because of shlichut. He says, well, it has to be yada. Fatanya, we learned in a Braita to do with the get, yada, only, right, ela yada, that's only yada. That means the husband has to give the get in her hand. How do you know that he could also put it in her gag, in her roof, in her chatzer, in her kapifav? He said, how do you know that? It's a netina, anywhere. So anywhere where you're going to place it is going to be good. So therefore it comes out that he's going to be marbeh chatzer because of yad. That means if it's going to be because of shlichut, we said a woman, he says the Torah already wrote that she can make a shliach to get her get. So says the Gemara, you're right. For get, nobody argues that it's chatzer mishum yada. Ki pligi, when is a machlok to do with metzia? Meaning to do with a get, you're right. The way that the field is triggered is through her hand. Meaning, if you're going to ask me, why in the world does the field acquire? It's because of her hand. Midin yad. It's an extension of her hand. It's to do with get. Right? Yeah, only for the get deal. But to do with mitziyah, that's the machlok. The more savar Rav Yochanan holds. Yalufina mitziyah mi get. We learn mitziyah from get. Yudalef amudalef on the top. 11a1 on the top. Right? That we're learning mitziyah from a get. More savar and Shaki says we don't learn mitziyah from a get. Which means, by the get, it's clear. By the get, it's clear. What happens by mitziyah now? So machloket. Do we compare the mitziyah to the get or not? Okay? The Rabbi Yochanan says yes, and the Shaki says no. If you could answer another answer. Biktana kule amalo plige. Everybody, you're right. By a ktana, everybody agrees. Tialfina mitziyah mi get, that we do learn mitziyah from the get. Which means that just like a ktana, she does have a chatzer for get, so too she has a chatzer for mitziyah according to everybody. But here we're not talking about a ktana, we're talking about a katan. Right? Why? Because by a katan we never learned this halacha. Meaning a ktana has get. So since a ktana has get, we learned by a ktana, right, that there does exist such a concept. Here though, we're talking about a katan. A katan we never learned that he has such a concept. So more savar yafil katan miktana, or more savar yafil katan miktana. So machloket is, do we say that just like the ktana has it, so to a katan we learn from a ktana, or do we not say that? If you want, you can answer morama archada umorama archada velo plige. The Shakis was speaking about one case, and Rabbi Yochanan was speaking about another case, and there's really no machlok between them. Right, which means that Rish Lakish is talking about Ktana does not have a chatzer. He's talking about mitziyah, and Rabbi Yochanan says that she does have a chatzer. He's talking about get. They're talking about two different cases, and therefore that's the difference between them.